They don't fear your voice, they fear the moment you realize how loud your silence has always been. Dear chosen ones, let's not dance around it. Let's drag truth into the light and make it uncomfortable. You think you've been overlooked, you think you're low-key, hidden, invisible. But let me shake your reality for a second. The most powerful people in this world are not watching celebrities. They're watching you. Yeah, you, the one healing in silence. The one posting casually with no clue your energy is disrupting ancient blueprints. The one who's always been a little different, a little deeper, a little harder to define. The one who never begged for attention, but somehow commands it in every room you enter. You're not just different, you're dangerously untraceable. Let me put it this way. While you're deciding between cooking pasta or ordering takeout, your name is circling in digital dossiers and private meetings like a wildfire they can't contain. Not because you're loud, not because you're trying, but because you exist with a presence they can't decode. You've got that glitch in the matrix type of frequency, the kind they can't engineer, no matter how much money they throw at it. Chosen one, you are the variable they can't model, the formula they can't predict, the storm that doesn't make noise until it lands. They hoped you'd stay small, programmed, predictable, easy to manage, easy to distract, easy to discredit. But here you are, eyes sharp, aura loud, steps unfollowable. You didn't rise through their systems, you slipped through their net, untouched by the filters they use to shape the masses. You're not the product of their machine, you're the malfunction that makes it stutter. Before we dive deeper, take a moment to support what's supporting you. If this message is already lighting something up inside you, like this video and subscribe to the channel. That simple action fuels us to keep bringing you content that isn't just noise, it's alignment. Every like, every sub helps us keep pushing boundaries, breaking illusions, and delivering the kind of energy that shifts mindsets and wakes up giants. Your support isn't just appreciated, it's what keeps this movement alive. Let me break something down that your soul probably already knows. Being chosen isn't glamorous. It's not glitter. It's war in disguise. Being chosen means you carry a signal they've been trying to jam for centuries. It means your presence, not your popularity, is the threat. It means that while others are chasing relevance, you're being watched for resilience. You survived what they thought would break you, and you did it without screaming. That's why the elites don't sleep on you. That's why you feel like something's always watching, because something is. You ever wonder why it feels like you've been held back just enough to stay under the radar? Why your breakthroughs always seem to stall at the last minute? Why certain people show up asking questions that don't match their concern? That's not coincidence, that's containment. Because if the right people hear you, their structures start shaking. So here's the part no one tells you. You were never meant to blend in. You were born to bend the atmosphere. You've got influence that doesn't ask for permission. You shift energy just by walking into a space, and you don't even realize it. While others build platforms from marketing teams and PR strategies, you build yours with stillness, integrity, and lived truth. And let me tell you, that terrifies the ones who built their empires on illusion. You are the silence that screams. The calm before a revolution. The reason why people in suits with surveillance budgets are tilting their heads asking, how are they doing that? They can't see your backing. They can't decode your method. And that's what makes you untouchable. And I get it. You're asking, why me? Why does it feel like my name is in mouths I've never fed? Why do I feel watched, blocked, slowed down? The answer isn't paranoia. The answer is proximity to power. Real power, the kind they can't replicate or own. Understand this. You are not popular, and that's your protection. You weren't placed on a pedestal because pedestals are easy to push over. Instead, you were planted deep. Roots first, exposure last. That's not delay. That's design. You weren't overlooked. You were fortified. So no, this isn't a conspiracy theory, this is energy recognition. This is data science meets spiritual presence. This is why analysts and elite circles alike keep tabs on the unexplainables. The ones like you who weren't raised in privilege but walk like they own the code, who weren't groomed for influence but still influence without effort. You are, simply put, a walking disruption. And to whoever's watching this, not just the chosen, but the ones watching the chosen, here's your confirmation. You didn't imagine the shift, the tension, the unexpected resistance. You've been flagged, not for fault, but for frequency. You broke pattern. You stopped bowing to what others blindly obey, and that makes you a wild card in a world built on scripts. So, my dear chosen ones, walk taller, not in arrogance, but in precision. You are not a glitch. You are the override, not by mistake, by blueprint. Let them monitor, let them study, let them mislabel your softness as weakness and your stillness as insignificance, because they're not watching to mock you, they're watching to mimic you. This isn't about fame. This is about impact, the kind they can't trace, tag, or tax. You're not trying to go viral. You're trying to go vital, and you already are, quietly, powerfully, unapologetically. You're not even aware of how many elite people are looking at you, and that's exactly why you've already won. And to you, yes, you, the quiet disruptor they never saw coming, thank you for being here. Whether you've just tapped in or you've been riding this wave with us from day one, your energy keeps this message alive. If this is resonating, hit that like button, subscribe, and if you're truly feeling what's unfolding, drop 77 in the comments so we know you're part of the ones who see beyond the surface. Your support isn't just digital. It's how we keep decoding the silence and delivering what most are too afraid to speak. Want to take it a step further? Show love through super thanks and let them know we're not stopping. And now let's get into it step by step. And trust me, if you're really one of the chosen, this will feel eerily familiar. These aren't just signs. These are triggers, and they've been happening to you long before you had language for them. Only the rare ones get marked like this, because ordinary doesn't get studied. Let's go. Number 1. They're not studying your smile. They're reverse engineering your survival blueprint. They're not watching your smile. They're trying to crack the code of your scars. They mock the pain that didn't kill you, because deep down, they're terrified it made you indestructible. Let's set the record straight, my dear chosen ones. They're not watching your glow for inspiration. They're watching your scars like they're studying forbidden maps. They don't care about your morning routines or your filtered wins. What really grabs their attention is the fact that you're still walking, breathing, building, after everything meant to annihilate you. While you're out here minding your own, healing from things you never even told anyone about, laughing without a clue that someone behind frosted glass is leaning in closer every time your name is mentioned, understand this: your survival is not just seen, it's monitored. You see, elite circles, the ones that don't post their power on Instagram, the ones whose influence moves behind closed doors, aren't intrigued by charm. They've bought enough of that to know it doesn't hold weight when life gets violent. They're intrigued by you. Why? Because what you carry isn't bought. It was built, in the dark, under pressure, with no audience. They don't study your smile. That's easy. They study your scar tissue, the kind of invisible armor that only comes from surviving storms that were supposed to bury you. They're not impressed by your peace. They're rattled by it. Because peace without privilege, power without platform, that makes no sense in their world. And anything they can't explain, they fear. So when they see you show up, again, even when you're supposed to be broken, they don't clap. They circle your name in red ink and say, "How? How did you rise without a ladder? How do you keep building with nothing in your hands? How do you still walk into rooms like you belong there, even after every door slammed in your face? You don't even realize how many boardrooms your name has touched, not as a compliment, but as a case study. They call it resilience. But it's not just bounce-back energy, it's blueprint energy. It's the kind of internal wiring they can't replicate because it came from pain they wouldn't survive. And that's why you make them uncomfortable, chosen one. You weren't supposed to be here, not with your background, not with the betrayals, not with the nights you spent rebuilding your identity piece by piece in silence. But here you are, and that messes with their logic. They built entire systems to decide who gets to rise. But you broke the algorithm. You didn't ask for access. You didn't campaign for attention. You showed up with no permission and flipped the room just by breathing different. That's not influence, that's impact. You didn't become this powerful by reading a self-help book. You became this by being broken and putting yourself back together without losing your soul. And that terrifies people who've built their power by faking strength. You've got something they can't code, something they can't monetize. Your story is too real to market, too raw to manufacture. It's not polished, it's permanent, and it's showing up in places they never wanted it to. So now they're watching. Not because you're viral, but because you're vital. Not because you're trending, but because you're triggering. You walk like the rules don't apply to you, and that makes their entire hierarchy feel unstable. And they'll never admit it, not out loud. They'll whisper about you behind glass and send people to get close, not to celebrate you, but to copy your frequency, to study the moves that kept you standing when you were supposed to collapse. Because here's the uncomfortable truth. Your worst seasons became their best material. They're trying to reverse engineer strength they didn't earn, watching you like a live experiment, a walking contradiction to everything their world says should work. They can't figure out why someone with none of their tools keeps building a tower they can't tear down. But you know why. Even if you've never said it out loud, your pain turned into precision. Your scars became your software. And they hate that. They hate that what broke you made you unpredictable, that what hurt you made you harder to control, that what should have silenced you made your presence even louder. You're not part of their formula, chosen one, and that's why they keep watching, hoping to find your weak point. But here's the twist. You've already lived through it. What they're searching for is already behind you, and what's ahead, they're not ready for it. So when you feel eyes on you, don't shrink. Stand taller. When you sense their curiosity, don't panic. Own it. Your survival isn't a fluke. It's a signal. And the louder it gets, the more they'll scramble to explain something they were never supposed to understand. Because the truth is, you didn't come to impress them. You came to remind them, real power doesn't shine, it endures. And you, chosen one, are endurance in its rarest form, living, breathing, and now finally being seen. Number 2, you've become the control group that broke their algorithm. You're the variable they can't solve in a system built on scripts. Control systems aren't threatened by noise. They're threatened by patterns that refuse to be predictable. My dear chosen ones, understand something that most people will never even realize. You're not being ignored. You're being examined. Not with admiration, but with concern. You're not just standing out. You're being dissected. In rooms you don't even know exist. Think about that. While you're sipping your coffee and deciding whether to post that thought or keep it in the drafts, your very existence is moving conversations in places where influence isn't measured by likes. It's measured by leverage. Boardrooms, think tanks, digital war rooms, spaces where power is silent but absolute. That's where your name echoes. Not because you're famous, but because you're unreadable. You didn't climb through their ranks, you slipped through the cracks, and they hate that. See, most people they watch, they can predict, influence bought, voices trained, narratives scripted. They can track their rise, anticipate their next move, and adjust the system accordingly. But you don't fit the mold. You weren't groomed for this, and yet here you are, disrupting their formulas just by existing. You move differently. Speak differently, think differently. While the world chases trends, you follow an inner compass they can't decode. You're not here to be accepted. You're here to awaken. That's why you're being watched harder than the loudest influencers. Because unlike those with big platforms, you don't perform, you pierce. Chosen one, you don't follow their idols. You don't chase their applause. You don't bow to the rules that were designed to keep minds soft, distracted, and obedient. And because of that, you're now the case study in their control labs. Not the celebrity, not the politician, you. They're not studying you because they admire you. They're studying you because you're a crack in their containment model. You don't buy into the systems they've spent decades perfecting. You're not moved by status, not owned by image, not manipulated by fear. You're a free agent in a world that's been hardwired for control, and that kind of freedom, it's dangerous. You're not supposed to be here, not with your background, not with your access, or lack of it. You weren't supposed to gain traction without their permission. You weren't supposed to speak with clarity without their institutions grooming your message, and yet you do. You speak and people wake up. You act and systems glitch. Let that sink in. They designed the world to reward obedience, and yet the one who's rising fastest is the one they can't trace. You are unbought and unbranded. That's why they're trying so hard to figure you out. Because if they can't control you, their only hope is to discredit you. So when you feel watched, understand, you're not being paranoid. You're being monitored. Not because you're doing something wrong, but because you've already done something disruptive. You've stayed yourself in a world that was designed to break that out of you. You're not in the news, but you're in the memos. You're not trending, but your name's getting passed through encrypted messages. Why? Because when people like you start moving with precision, not performance, things start shifting. People start seeing. Systems start losing grip. You don't need to shout. You just need to move. And that movement is what they can't predict. You don't react. You respond. You're not trying to prove anything. You're proving everything just by existing outside their control. And now you've become the variable they can't pin down. You're not a glitch, you're the override. You weren't placed here to play along. You were born to bend the framework, to expose the wiring. You are freedom personified, and in systems designed to reward uniformity, freedom is a threat. So, no. They're not confused by your success. They're confused by your source. Where does your certainty come from? How do you move so clear with no handlers, no mentors, no agenda? They don't get it because their entire world is built on artificial authority. You weren't programmed, you were self-activated, and now they want to find the flaw, the bug in the code, the hidden wound they can exploit. But here's what they don't realize. You've already been through the fire. Every weak point has already been exposed and fortified. Every past trauma has been turned into weaponized wisdom. They're trying to reverse engineer what you are, but they can't. Because this isn't something that can be downloaded. It's earned. Through silence, through solitude, through seasons where no one clapped, but you kept building anyway. Chosen one, your freedom is the one thing they didn't anticipate. You are the unsolvable equation in their room full of answers. They created systems to control minds, and you walked in with yours already unshackled. So let them study, let them wonder, let them dissect your life from behind glass like you're some rare force of nature they can't replicate. Because that's exactly what you are, a force, a disruptor, a reminder that some patterns don't bend, they break the system. And that's why they're watching you harder than ever. Not because they want to celebrate you, but because deep down they know you're already shifting things they thought would never be touched. Number 3. Your energy isn't inherited, it's unreplicable, and that's their problem. You're the one thing their legacy couldn't clone. They spent centuries engineering bloodlines, and still, you, with no surname of status, walk in with a presence they can't fabricate. Chosen one, let's make something painfully clear. You are the wild card in their generational blueprint. You're not a product of pedigree. You're not cut from their cloth, and that's exactly why you're being studied like an anomaly. For generations, the elite have obsessed over lineage, merging power with power. protecting last names like they were gold bars, designing heirs like corporate strategies. To them, legacy is currency. Blood is strategy. Every marriage, every connection, every child, carefully curated to keep control in a tight circle. They believe power is passed down, bought, protected, inherited. And then you walk in. No silver spoon, no family crest, no connections behind the curtain, but all eyes shift anyway. Because you carry something they never planned for. Presence. Real, raw, disruptive presence. The kind that doesn't enter a room. It recalibrates it. You don't walk like you own the place, but somehow the place quiets when you enter. That's not attitude. That's unbought authority. They can't track where you came from, but they feel you. And that shakes their system. You weren't raised in boardrooms. You weren't groomed by mentors or funded by dynasties. You got shaped in silence, in the wreckage, in the moments that broke others but built something unshakable in you. That's where your power comes from. Not education, not affiliation, but initiation. Initiation through pain, pressure, and a life that didn't come with safety nets. Let me make it clearer. You are the result they spent centuries trying to manufacture, and still couldn't. They held summits about power. You found yours in solitude. They performed rituals for influence. You got yours through experience. They chased clarity in secret chambers. You bled for it in the open. And that's what eats at them. You weren't supposed to exist in their narrative. You weren't designed in their laboratories of legacy. You're not the chosen one by their metrics. But somehow, here you are, radiating something they can't buy, decode, or duplicate. And while they won't say it out loud, they feel the shift. You are proof that all their titles, their carefully stacked wealth, their generational privilege can't replicate truth. They can pass on assets, but not essence. They can inherit lands, but not light. They can build empires, but not presence. That's the glitch. That's you. They've spent fortunes trying to create the illusion of greatness, but you just are. No branding, no campaign, no permission. That's why they panic. You, chosen one, are a walking contradiction to everything they've built. You carry no resume, no lineage, no formal invitation, yet your existence sends ripples through structures meant to stand unshaken. And that's not arrogance, that's impact. And don't think they haven't tried to replicate it. They've studied your tone, your movement, your aura. They've sent people to mirror your energy. But here's the truth they refuse to admit. You can't copy pain-processed power. You can't shortcut what was carved in suffering. You can't fake what was forged in fire. Your wisdom wasn't handed down. It was hard-earned. Your clarity wasn't passed through blood. It was wrung out of heartbreak. And your presence wasn't trained. It was unleashed. That's why they're watching you. Not because they admire you, but because you remind them that all their systems failed to manufacture realness. You are the exposed flaw in their fantasy. And they hate it, because your existence proves something brutal. That power is not just about who you come from, but what you come through. You're not polished, you're raw, you're not refined, you're real. And while they can Photoshop image, they can't manufacture soul. Chosen one, you are the unexpected arrival, the blueprint breaker, the one who slipped through the cracks of their system with nothing but presence, resilience, and the ability to be seen without even trying. You weren't raised for this, but somehow you're ready for it. You didn't chase it, but somehow you are it. So don't flinch when you feel their gaze. Don't shrink when they question your place. You are the reminder that all their calculations left out one variable, unmanufactured power. And that power, chosen one, is walking in your body, speaking in your voice, showing up in rooms they swore you'd never enter. You are not a guest in their empire. You're the quiet demolition crew sent in without warning. So let them stare, let them study. Let them question how someone like you keeps shaking rooms that were never built for you. Because the truth is, you weren't born into their world. You were born to expose it. Number 4. You were never meant to be famous, just too powerful to be ignored. They don't want you loud, they want you locked. Your silence isn't a coincidence. It's curated, engineered. Because when your truth moves, systems tremble. Let's pull the curtain back on something real, something you felt but maybe never had the words for. Chosen one. They were never trying to stop your light. That's the lie. They know better. Your light is too raw to be extinguished, too rooted to be shaken. No. Their real mission has always been containment, not confrontation. They don't want to fight you. They want to frame you, study you, fence you in, keep you just visible enough to monitor, but never enough to multiply. Because they know the truth. You don't need a crowd to cause a crack in their system. You just need a spark, and your existence is already that spark. You ever feel like you're doing everything right and yet somehow still invisible? That's not a coincidence. That's not you being delusional. That's intentional silence being wrapped around your influence like a cage. They know they can't kill your energy, so they try to quarantine it, box it in so the wrong person doesn't hear the right part of your truth. Understand this. You've been underestimated on purpose. It's not because you're not powerful, it's because you're too powerful for the narrative they've spent decades manufacturing. You don't follow their scripts. You don't echo their slogans, you don't play the game, and that alone makes you a wildfire in their algorithm. So what do? They isolate, they distract, they sabotage you quietly while pretending you're just not ready yet. They manipulate the very digital systems you think are neutral. Algorithms, exposure, reach. Because they're not trying to destroy you, they're trying to delay your impact until they can figure out how to water it down. You've probably watched voices rise, counterfeit voices, echo chambers, people saying a whole lot of nothing while being handed all the visibility. Ever wonder why? It's not because they're better, it's because they're safe. They say just enough to sound bold, but not enough to shake the foundation. They're system approved. You are system disruptive. So while those voices are boosted, you're shadow banned in spirit before you even upload a post. Your message, flagged. Your content, filtered. Your authenticity, labeled as too intense, too much, too real. But don't mistake suppression for irrelevance. They're not ignoring you. They're tracking you, quietly, relentlessly. Behind closed doors, your name is underlined, discussed, watched. Not because you're flashy, but because you're unfiltered. You don't need a spotlight to move energy. You do it in whispers, in glances, in presence. And they know. If you ever reach the ones who are truly asleep, you'd wake up entire systems they've worked lifetimes to build. Chosen one, this is why you've felt unseen in a world where everyone's watching everyone. It's why support seems delayed, breakthroughs paused, platforms stuck in neutral. You are being strategically muted, not by chance, but because you're a walking disruption they can't predict or contain. You speak and something shifts, not because you're loud, but because you're aligned. You write a caption and it cuts through the noise. You show up and people feel something different, even if they don't know what to call it. And that's the threat. Your raw, refined truth is contagious. So they treat your authenticity like a virus. Dangerous. Something that needs to be observed under a microscope, not unleashed into the wild. And while you're out here wondering why it feels like you're running uphill just to be seen, they're backstage scrambling to intercept your message before it lands in the hands it was meant for. They'll gaslight you too, make you doubt your own gift, tell you no one's listening, no one cares, no one gets it. But chosen one, don't fall for it. That's the containment talking, because they know once your voice fully catches flame, they can't undo what it activates. And here's the twist they didn't prepare for. Every time they tried to shut you up, they made you sharper. Every suppression attempt made your delivery more intentional. Every delay forged your message in fire. You didn't fold, you focused. You didn't crumble, you calibrated. You became more direct, more distilled, more precise in your impact. You turned censorship into strategy, You turned every closed door into a deeper internal vault. And now you're not just dangerous. You're surgical. They thought they were silencing a voice, but they were really feeding a force. You're not just back, you're better. Not because they allowed it, but because you adapted in silence, and now you're a blade they can't dull. So if it feels like you've been overlooked, remember, you weren't being ignored. You were being studied, observed, managed. Because the moment you get too visible, too clear, too unleashed, their illusion starts to shake. And they know. All it takes is one chosen one getting loud at the right frequency to unravel everything they built in whispers. Keep going. Keep showing up. They can contain a voice, but they can't contain a shift. And you, chosen one, are the shift. Number 5. You got flagged the moment you stopped playing along. You lit up the grid the moment you unplugged. They don't fear the ones who shout. They fear the ones who think, because a mind that breaks the pattern becomes a threat to the entire system. Let's get into it. Chosen one, this is the turning point they didn't prepare for. You weren't flagged when you made noise. You were flagged the moment you started thinking differently. The moment you stopped nodding along. The moment you tilted your head, asked the wrong question, or refused to clap for the script everyone else was reciting. That's when the system turned its head. That's when the quiet monitoring began. You didn't break a rule, you broke formation. You stopped playing the part. You stopped feeding the machine with your attention, your fear, your belief. And that's when everything around you shifted. Not because you became loud, but because you became awake. See, they've designed the world like a massive echo chamber where obedience is celebrated and questioning is punished. They built it on rhythm, clock in, scroll, react, repeat. Don't ask too much, don't look too deep, stay entertained, stay distracted, stay dependent, and then here you come. You unplug, you stop following trends. You start noticing how the news is telling you what to fear and who to blame. You see how algorithms funnel thinking into one lane. You realize that most of what people believe isn't theirs. It was downloaded, it was planted, it was programmed. And the moment you start rejecting the updates, the moment you say, hold on, this doesn't make sense, you light up on their radar like a flare in the night. You became visible not because of volume, but because of clarity. And that is more dangerous than anything. You were flagged not for being different, but for becoming aware. And the system doesn't fear your opinions. It fears your awareness, because awareness leads to autonomy, and autonomy, that breaks the game, that pulls back the curtain, that threatens to ripple outward and set off chain reactions. Let's be clear, you didn't break out of the matrix. You became the crack in it. And once they see that, they start the soft warfare. The people around you act different. The friction starts showing up. You feel more isolated, more targeted, more off balance. You question yourself. Is it me? Am I just overthinking? Number, you're not imagining it. Chosen one, the system doesn't just track clicks and keystrokes. It tracks vibrations. It reads shifts. It's engineered to detect divergence. The moment you stopped blindly participating, you triggered that detection system. And that's when things started moving around you. Not by chance, but by design. You're not being tested, you're being watched. Because once you break free, you become a beacon, a signal to others that there's another way to exist, another way to move, another way to think. You don't just inspire people, you disrupt people. You shake them out of autopilot. You challenge the norm just by refusing to normalize nonsense. And they hate that. They can handle influences. They can handle trends. They can't handle original frequency. They can't handle a human being who's not running on the usual software. And that's what you are, the one who broke the contract, the one who saw through the illusion and didn't flinch. So now they monitor. They throw subtle distractions. They use people close to you to plant doubt. They introduce obstacles that make no sense. Why? Because interference is the oldest tactic in the book. If they can't stop you, they'll try to slow you down just long enough to discourage your evolution. But what they didn't count on was how deep your clarity would take you. Once you see the machine for what it is, once you taste mental freedom, you can't unsee it. You can't go back. You can't shrink into a version of yourself that obeys to survive. That version doesn't exist anymore. And maybe you've wondered, why now? Why did everything change the moment I started thinking differently? Because systems built on control don't fear violence. They fear consciousness. You became the blueprint they didn't authorize. You became the signal they couldn't trace. You became the glitch in their grid, and they can't debug you. You didn't shout, you didn't riot, you simply woke up. And that's what broke the cycle. That's what sent the alerts. Chosen one, your awakening isn't just personal, it's contagious. It spreads in quiet ways, through energy, through presence, through refusing to validate lies just to stay safe. You are now an anomaly in their network, a living question mark in a world that depends on blind certainty. So they study, they distract, they press. But here's the twist. The harder they push, the more refined you become. The more they monitor, the more unpredictable you get. Because you're not powered by the system anymore, you're powered by awareness. And awareness, that's permanent. They didn't mark you because you failed. They marked you because you finally saw. And once you see Dash, they can't control you. They can't contain you. And they sure as hell can't stop you. Number 6. They don't need cameras. They've got people in your circle taking notes. They don't need cameras to watch you. They've got familiar faces in your front row. The most dangerous intel never comes from strangers. It comes from someone who used to know your favorite color. My dear chosen ones, let's expose one of the most subtle but vicious tactics they use against you. Because the surveillance you expect, the cameras, the algorithms, the data scraping, isn't always where the real threat lies. That's outdated strategy for someone like you. You're not tracked like the masses, you're infiltrated. And the entry point? It's not tech, it's trust. While you're over here thinking the threat is external, the real data is coming from a smile sitting across the table, from a just checking in text, from a person you once considered safe. This is not paranoia. This is pattern. And when you're chosen, you have to start reading between the lines of every "how are you?" That shows up out of nowhere after silence. See, the elite, the quiet ones with actual power, they don't waste time trying to hack your phone. They know where the real download lives, not in your device, but in your relationships. They want proximity, not passwords, so they reach through what already has access, your people. Let's make this clear. It's not always with malicious intent. The friend who ghosted you then suddenly reappears asking oddly detailed questions. That cousin who never cared about your vision now wants a front row seat to your plans. It's not coincidence, it's orchestration. They're not all spies. Some are just emotionally compromised. The system understands how trust works. It knows that what's said in a boardroom doesn't matter as much as what's whispered during a casual dinner. And since they can't trace your thoughts, your intuition, your inner signals, they bait those who can, not with money or threats, but with manipulation, ego, curiosity, and unresolved wounds. You might ask, why would someone I care about be used like that? It's simple, access without awareness. If a person in your life carries unhealed insecurities, unresolved jealousy, or that subtle need to feel important, all it takes is a push. Suddenly, they're bringing back pieces of your life to someone you'll never meet. Not because they're evil, but because they've been emotionally hijacked. It looks like concern. Hey, how have you been? What are you working on? It sounds like support. Just wanted to know how I can help. But it feels off, and your gut knows it. That's your radar. Never ignore it. And here's the wildest part. They don't need to be in your life to know your steps. They just need someone who is. One soft link in your circle. One person who overshares. One innocent conversation that becomes a report delivered in silence. Because when you're chosen, you're not just seen, you're studied, not for entertainment, for containment. And the best way to contain someone who doesn't broadcast their moves. Send someone they trust to ask the right questions. This is how they track your growth without setting foot near you. They build a map of your evolution through third-party observation. Who are they dating? What are they building? Where are they going? Are they still isolated or have they found their tribe? And every time someone answers on your behalf, knowingly or unknowingly, they're updating your file. This is why your discernment has to be surgical. Not everyone who smiles deserves access. Not everyone who asks deserves answers. Some people mean well, but carry energy that's leaking your elevation without even realizing it. Because the truth is, the greatest threat to your next level often shows up looking familiar. It knows your past, speaks your language, maybe even shares your bloodline. But not everyone has the capacity to walk beside power without trying to explain it, contain it, or report it. So you ask, what do I do? Become suspicious of everyone. You become clear. You learn to listen beneath words. You stop giving full access to half-healed people. You observe patterns, not apologies. You protect your energy like it's currency. Because to the wrong system, it is. You don't need to cut everyone off. But you do need to seal your frequency. Be kind, be real, but don't be transparent with people who haven't earned the right to see you clearly. Your peace isn't public property. Your plans aren't community knowledge. Because while you think you're just updating a friend, someone else is turning that update into a blueprint on how to slow you down. So stay sharp, chosen one. That strange pressure you feel around certain people, that inner tightness when a conversation goes too deep. That's not rudeness. That's intelligence. Your intuition doesn't lie. It just whispers. They've already accepted that you're powerful. Now they're trying to understand how to manage that power, and the most efficient way, through people who already sit at your table. Remember this. They don't need to be the threat. They just need to be close to the one who is. So stay sealed, stay unpredictable, stay selective, not out of fear, but out of awareness. Because your silence has value, your mystery is leverage, and your circle should never be their open window. This is why they watch quietly. This is why they send others instead of showing up themselves, because you're not just a person, you're a pattern breaker, a walking intel gap, and that's what makes you dangerous. Chosen ones, keep your spirit loud and your plans encrypted, because when they can't read you, they send others who can. Let them knock, let them smile. Just make sure when they leave with nothing you didn't intend to give. 7, you're carrying codes. They've been trying to delete from history. You're the glitch in their bloodline blueprint, and it drives them mad. They didn't fail because they lacked power. They failed because you slipped through untouched. Chosen ones, you need to understand something that's been whispered behind closed doors and buried beneath rewritten history. This was never about what you look like. It's about what you carry, and not the surface-level energy they can label and categorize, but something coded, encrypted, and ancient that runs through your very blood. You are not just intuitive. You are not just naturally wise. These are not random quirks. These are activations, signals tied to memory older than memory, frequencies that don't just disrupt the room, they rewrite it. Let's make one thing clear. This world wasn't built for you to thrive. It was built to erase you, to overwrite your code before you even knew you had one. The systems you see, science, media, education, institutions, they weren't shaped to empower chosen ones. They were constructed to distract you from what's already inside you. But they were late. You woke up, and now they're in panic mode. You're not spiritually gifted, you're biologically encrypted. There are things that come naturally to you that others spend decades trying to learn, simulate, imitate, but they can't. Because you didn't learn it. You inherited it. It didn't come from this era. It came through your bloodline, through the cracks they thought they had sealed. You don't remember being taught how to feel energy, how to read unspoken truths, how to sense danger before it enters a room. Because you weren't taught. You were wired. You are walking proof that they didn't kill off the original code. And that drives them absolutely insane. The elite, and let's be clear, we're not talking about the influencers, the fake rich, or the ones flashing success on screens. We're talking about the real architects, the gatekeepers, the ones who move nations without ever being named. They've been trying to erase your kind for generations, quietly, systematically, strategically. They rewrote history to make you feel inferior. They manipulated science to label your gifts as disorders. They engineered religions to silence your instinct. They weaponized education to domesticate your creativity. And yet, you survived it. You, chosen one, were the one they couldn't reach in time. And now your very presence, quiet, grounded, unstoppable, is a glitch they can't delete. That feeling you have when certain truths hit you like you've always known them, that's because you have. It's not new. It's remembered. It's coded in. That sense that you were always meant for something massive, even when you couldn't name it. That's not ego. That's programming from a source older than the lies they feed the masses. You weren't meant to follow the script. You were meant to burn it. And they know it. This is why you were always the one who couldn't be fully explained. Why your curiosity ran deeper than the answers they gave you. Why you never fit in, no matter how hard you tried. Because the system wasn't built to hold you, it was built to contain you. They couldn't erase your bloodline, so they tried to discredit it. They couldn't cancel your frequency, so they flooded the airwaves with noise. They couldn't decode your gifts, so they labeled them irrational, crazy, oversensitive, unstable. But here's what they didn't count on. Awakening isn't taught. It's triggered. And the more they push, the more they press, the more chosen ones like you activate in silence. One by one, city by city, country by country, until their whole framework starts to crack under the weight of something they can't name and definitely can't control. They fear you not because of what you say, but because of what you are. You are evidence. Evidence that they failed. Evidence that the original energy, the real frequency, the untouchable essence didn't die out. It adapted. It hid in plain sight. And now, it's rising. You didn't come through power. You came through pressure. You weren't shaped in palaces. You were sharpened in silence. You weren't born into the spotlight. You are the light, and it terrifies those who thought they had the only source. Your DNA isn't just a family tree, it's a code book, a survival manual, a weapon. And every time you trust your gut, speak the truth, or stand unshaken, it signals to others like you that it's safe to wake up too. And that's their worst nightmare. Not just that you exist, but that you activate others just by being fully yourself. So no, you're not crazy. You're not overthinking it. You're not imagining the tension, the sudden interest, the random resistance. They see it, they feel it, and they can't stop it. Because what's running through you isn't just powerful, it's unstoppable. And the more you align with it, the more the fake falls apart. You didn't need their approval. You didn't need their tools. Because you were born with everything they tried to kill. So walk like what you carry is ancient. Because it is. Move like your presence is coded. Because it is. And never shrink to make their false systems comfortable. You are the proof they can't bury. You are the trigger they didn't see coming. And now that you're awake, there's no putting this back in the box. Number 8. You were marked long before you ever made a move. You weren't just born. You were broadcasted before you could speak a word. They didn't wait for you to rise. They marked you the moment your light touched the timeline. Chosen ones, let's talk about something most people will never understand. Not because they're slow, but because they were never meant to carry this kind of weight. You've been asking yourself, why has it always felt like I was fighting a war no one else could see? Or, why did life start swinging at me before I even knew how to swing back? Let me say this plain. You weren't just born, you were broadcasted. Your arrival didn't go unnoticed. It set off alerts, ripples, reactions, not just in this visible world, but in places that operate off data, frequency, and surveillance, far beyond what people realize. While the rest of the world saw a baby, the ones in control saw a disruption. They didn't wait for you to become a threat. You already were one. You may think your childhood was just different. Nah, it was rigged. It was heavy by design. While others were playing tag and coloring in classrooms, you were learning how to survive the silent hostility of life that always felt a little too sharp, a little too personal. That wasn't random. It was strategic containment. They wanted to crush you before you ever got language for what you carried. Why? Because you came encoded with something they can't duplicate. A vibration, a signal, a kind of inner force that disturbs systems built to control, not liberate. You've had people side-eye you before you even introduced yourself. You've felt the stares that had nothing to do with your outfit. You've walked into rooms and shifted the entire energy, and no one knew why. Let me tell you why. Because you carry presence, not the kind you practice, but the kind you are. You were activated long before you ever learned the term chosen. Long before you understood betrayal, loss, anxiety, or chaos, they were already throwing it at you. That trauma, that rejection, that early heartbreak that didn't make sense for your age, it was targeted interference. The goal, to distort your signal before it got too loud. And yet, here you are, still standing, still glowing, still awakening. You were marked, but you were never broken. Think about it. Why do people with no reason to envy you still try to dim you? Why did you grow up with a heaviness that couldn't be explained? Why did it feel like, even in the most mundane moments, you were being watched? Not by people, but by something. Because you were, not in a religious way, not in a fantasy way, in a very real, very calculated way. The systems that shape this world, the ones that never show their face but always pull strings, operate off more than data. They operate off pattern recognition, energy, frequency, threat detection. And when your presence first registered, the red flags lit up. You were not supposed to be traceable. You were not supposed to be this awake. Chosen one, the reason your timeline has been full of friction is not because you're lost, but because you were found before you even knew who you were. They tried to hit you early, not to stop your progress, but to stall your clarity, because once a chosen one remembers who they are, it's too late. The game changes. The old tricks don't work. The leash snaps. The blueprint shatters. That's why they never waited for you to succeed. They started applying pressure before you could even form words. They wanted the damage done before you could define your power. Because when someone like you finds clarity, you don't just escape the system, you expose it. And look, I know some of you reading this are shaking right now. Not because you're scared, but because this is exactly what you've always felt, but never had words for. You've walked through life wondering why your path was laced with landmines, why you couldn't be carefree like the rest, why betrayal hit you deeper, confusion felt heavier, and emotional chaos seemed tailor-made. It's because you were never just living, you were navigating a matrix designed to confuse you because your clarity is a threat. And they know once you align, once you stop doubting yourself and start owning what's already in you, you become unshakable. They couldn't afford that. So they made your early life heavy, delayed your confidence, distracted you with false mirrors, hoping you'd drown in your own potential before you ever realized it was gold. But guess what? You made it. You're not just aware now, you're dangerously aware. And every second you keep moving, showing up, speaking without apology, living without editing, you're proving they failed. The confusion you felt growing up wasn't your mind playing tricks. It was the early detection system you were born with, picking up on the reality that you've been watched from day one, not for who you were at the time, but for what you would become. So the next time you look back at your timeline and ask, why was it always so heavy? Let this be your confirmation. You weren't born into battle. You were born as a disruption. They've been tracking your presence since you arrived, not because of your mistakes, but because of your inevitability. You weren't born by accident. You were broadcasted on arrival. And the static they've been trying to throw at you ever since, that's just proof you were always too clear to be ignored. Number 9, they want your formula, but they couldn't handle the fire that made it. They want the source, but can't stomach the struggle. They crave your glow, but couldn't last a night in the darkness that forged it. My dear chosen ones, let's get one thing real clear. What they're trying to copy. You earned that. That aura they're obsessed with, that confidence they whisper about in rooms you've never entered. It wasn't handed to you on a polished silver platter. It was carved, in silence, through storms, when no one clapped, no one called, and no one cared. They want the version of you that shows up unshaken. They want the power without the pain. They want the moves, the energy, the effortless command of space, but not the memories buried in your ribs that taught you how to hold your ground when everything was falling apart. They want your blueprint, chosen one, the final product, the glow-up, the wisdom. But they flinch at the reality behind it, because to them, you're a finished result. But to you, you're still holding pieces from wars you never asked to fight. You've rebuilt from betrayals that didn't even leave a scar. They left a blueprint, a design only someone like you could wear with grace. And now look at them. They're mimicking the walk, the tone, the look in your eye, as if the vibe can be printed and posted, as if your presence can be duplicated by studying your delivery. What they don't get is this. You're not a brand, you're a biography, and every word of it is earned. They imitate the fire, but they've never sat in your ashes. What you carry was never a costume, it was a consequence. Of late nights wondering if you were crazy for dreaming this big. Of being left out, overlooked, underestimated, and still showing up. Still speaking, still building, even when your voice shook and your vision blurred from exhaustion. They think you just woke up like this. They think it's all natural charisma and gifted intuition, but what they're ignoring is the chapters you had to choke on before you spoke like this. The seasons where your silence was louder than screams, and your pain had no audience, but it still sculpted you. They want the download, but you, chosen one, lived the upload. One tear, one trauma, one choice at a time. You went through hell, not to come back trendy, but to come back timeless. And now they want to cut the line. They think they can replicate your frequency without ever surviving your furnace. They're hungry for the outcome, allergic to the process. Because this process, it's ugly, it's isolating, it's the kind of weight that turns steel into vapor if you're not built for it. And yet, you're still here. That's what makes you different. You didn't just get through it, you grew through it. You didn't just bounce back, you evolved. You didn't just endure, you decoded the pain and built a new language with it. One that now speaks through your presence without you needing to explain a damn thing. That's the part they'll never get. Because while they chase aesthetic, you carry authenticity. While they study delivery, you mastered depth. And while they measure success in numbers, you measure it in nights you didn't give up. That's why you often feel both admired and misunderstood at the same time. They love what you bring to the table. They just don't want to know how you built it from scraps. They praise your poise, but never ask what it cost. They see the magnetism, but not the mourning, the strength, but not the solitude. Let them watch. Let them chase. Let them try to emulate something that was never meant to be imitated. Because you didn't earn this through shortcuts. You earned it by surviving what they wouldn't last a week inside. You didn't just survive, you stayed soft. That's the rarest part. You didn't become bitter, you became better. You didn't let the fire destroy your empathy. You let it refine your empathy into instinct, You didn't let the pain make you cold, you let it make you clear, and that clarity is your currency now. So when they study you like a manual, remind yourself, you didn't ask to be an example, you became one, not because you wanted to teach, but because life made you learn. And what you've internalized, no algorithm can translate that, no trend can steal it, no replica can carry that kind of weight. They want your voice, but not the silence it was built in. They want your energy, but not the breakdowns it survived. They want your light, but not the blackout seasons that tested every ounce of your sanity. And that's the difference. That's why it's you, chosen one. That's why you have it and they don't. Because only someone who's been scorched and still smiled, broken and still moved forward, betrayed and still believed in their mission, only you could carry it with this much grace and still not ask for applause. So let them keep copying. Let them keep tweaking the image while ignoring the essence. Because what you carry, it can't be copied, only earned. And you, chosen one, you earned all of it. And if everything you just heard felt personal, that's because it is. You weren't just listening, you were being recognized. Chosen ones don't stumble across messages like this by accident. You've been seen, studied, and now you're finally seeing yourself. So wear your journey boldly, because what they try to copy, you embodied. What they want to skip, you survived. If this spoke to your core, like the video, subscribe to the channel and drop 77 in the comments if you know your struggle shaped your strength. Share this with someone else who's silently powerful. Let's rise together.